It's not live. Skip forward a minute, just like a minute. I'm going to send this link out. I'm going to get started. I'm going to wait for people to get in here. We're going to get the founders in here. It's going to be a great podcast. 1 second. All right. Get the Discord link out. Boom. We are live on Twitter. Just shared it there. All right. Sweet. Make sure we live. And we are live. Fire. Hey, what's up, Renoli? How's it going? Okay, well, I'm just going to get started now. I don't want to have people waiting if they're not watching this live. Guys, welcome to the Joyage Kingdom Cage Your Guide. I'll be replacing a little voice I for now. Gives you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, if you're listening or viewing, I want to reply if you're on. If you haven't already, smash that like button. Click that button. There's a new feature, actually, in the like button. When you click it, it doesn't just turn blue now. It does this whole highlighted gold, yellow thing. It's sick. So click that like button. Try it out. Subscribe to the channel. Join the kingdom. Follow me on Twitter. Follow the Discord. Or all the links are down in the description. You guys already know. Today we have a super exciting episode. We have the founders from Ragnarok NFT, a project that I reviewed a couple weeks ago. We're just going to talk about them, talk about life, talk about the project, talk about NFTs, where we're headed. It actually fits in perfectly because it's more of like a utility focus project where this past cycle has been a lot of derivatives, a lot of PFPs, a lot of just copycats and profile picture brand stuff. So we're going to talk about it. We have Various. If you guys know him from Twitter and Discord, his name's Various, but we also have Adam on. It's going to be a great episode. So we're going to hit start right now. I'm going to hit my intro, and we'll get started. Boom. Everybody's on. What's up, y'all?
Yes. Hello,
buddy. Hey, man. Hey, welcome to the show. It's really cool. I love the background, by the way, Various. I was going to say that earlier, but I didn't even like, I don't know. I was just rewatching my video to make sure I had everything screwed on right for my head as far as the project, and it didn't even I was like, oh wait, that has to be a green screen, right?
So actually, it's just a virtual background, but
oh shit,
no one's ever seen it before. This is the first place anyone's seeing it.
Let's go.
We like to, people who want to do something for us, we want to do something for them. So there you go. You have your very own alpha. Nobody's seen this.
Hell yeah.
What it actually is we're dropping whitelist tokens, airdropping them to the people that earn them. And depending what faction you get to mint for, the one behind me actually is Odin's. So if you happen to be on Odin's whitelist, you'll receive this actually runestone as an NFT well ahead of time. And that allows people to be comfortable. They know they have it. They don't have to worry. Am I on the list? Did I get in the contract? Like things like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And should you decide, you know what? I want a whitelist spot, but I'm actually not going to mint or not interested. Well, you can still sell it. It's an NFT now, already on OpenSea and whatnot. So we find it's a little better way to do things than just throwing addresses in a contract. It also helps, create excitement. People that saw the first one we dropped, Thor's, they were loving it on Discord. It, hyped up engagement and excitement. So yeah, we think it's a concept that more people should adopt, but we're happy to, we're happy to do it for ourselves. So,
hell yeah, dude, pioneer that shot. I think it's a great idea. I'm actually interested, Adam, on your perspective on that, because what I've noticed is during this bear market, during this bull market, this past bull market, leading into this bear market, is that a lot of projects were becoming basically marketers for other projects and just being like, oh, whitelist opportunity here, whitelist opportunity there. And I don't know about you guys, but 3/4 of those projects whitelist sucked. Like I was like, bro, why would we want these whitelists? I don't understand. And doing that actually is a great idea because you do get emotionally involved. You have an NFT now that is your ticket in, plus it's their own NFT. Was that something you guys have seen before, or is that something you guys wanted to sort of pioneer?
So we've done it before. We've used it for former clients, and it was just a great way. Initially, we did it to save on gas in the contract because these are 1155s, which means they're much cheaper to send out and they're much cheaper to burn and read from the contract when you use them. So as opposed to putting, if we had to whitelist 1,000 people, going through that map is more expensive than just checking, hey, from the 1155 contract, do they have this? Let's burn it. And they mint with it. So originally it was based on the tech reasons why we did it. For clients who wanted, we always try to save gas for everyone. And now it became more of something where I think it's more of a really cool marketing idea and community idea stuff.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Well, did you guys want to tell me? I know there's probably most people in here know who you are or have been associated with Ragnarok. But for people who don't know, how and why did you guys pick NFTs as a career path? Because I know for background, Adam, you were in managing. You guys are both from Canada. It looks like you guys worked in like the retail Web2 world. I know Keith, you were in technology, a lot of chief technology officer positions. What made you guys make the jump into NFT land?
I'm just right now just pissed off that Keith has this cool ass background that you didn't tell me about. Now I look like a scrub sitting here with my plain ass white background. He's stealing the spotlight from me. What the heck is going on here?
I sent you one. I mean, hey.
Oh, man.
No, yeah, it's actually an interesting story. Like me and Keith, we go back, I think 10 years now, and we started off by working for a same retail company. And from there, we kind of branched off to different fields. Before the retail company, I was in an online poker scene. If anyone remembers Full Tilt Poker, I had a management position there. And from there, I went back into that kind of field. It was a startup, and they were looking for a chief operating officer. So I jumped onto that project and kind of helped them out, which was pretty cool because they had. It was based off a tribal casino in Oklahoma, and they were jumping into the online scene. But unfortunately for them, they were expecting the gambling license to pass through, and it didn't. So that kind of ruined their plans for them. And from there, I jumped into mobile gaming, where I was the chief operating officer and board of director for Good Gamer, which is a Canadian publicly traded company. And me and Keith ended up connecting again. He jumped on as the CTO shortly after I joined. And Keith actually introduced me to the space. I wasn't too involved into NFTs or crypto. I had no idea what an NFT was, a year and a half ago. He's like, hey, check it out. This is cool. And we ended up, talking about it, investing in some NFTs. Went horribly for us because we just invested in the wrong ones.
Every time.
And then we're like, you know what? This is really cool. Keith went down the rabbit hole. I think for a week, he was staying up till 2, 3 a.m. looking into smart contracts. And every day he'd fill me in with a summary. And he's like, look, you could do this, you could do that. And most of the information went over my head. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? And once I finally started to understand, we're like, hey, we have so much experience. We've made money for so many different, CEOs and founders. Like, let's do this. Let's jump into it. And, that's where we started off with Master Brews. And Keith can kind of take it from here on what Master Brews is.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that drew me into the space, aside from it was exciting new technology versus stuff we've been doing for years and years. Like, if you say you call it Web 2, that's at least a good 15 years Web 2 was out. So, there's only so much innovation you can do, especially if it's not your own company and you work for someone else or with someone else, right? So that was kind of where we were going. And once I saw all the possibilities, my mind started churning. Hey, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. But what I thought was what made it realistic was you didn't need a lot of resources or money to enter the space. Mm-hmm. I have a business and marketing background. I have the tech background. So it seemed like something we could do, just start it off on the side, see if we can make something work. There's no massive barrier to entry like there are with a lot of businesses, or even a lot of ideas I've had over the years where I'm like, I don't want to do the whole investor thing and try to find money, and that's just not my my thing. So I just want to create and build from a tech perspective. And we jumped in. Master Brew's original plan was twofold. One was we noticed a lot of the artists in the space at the time were all following one very specific style. And that was kind of like your more niche style, the very meme style based on crypto, right? It was very techy. It was very appealing to like a certain niche of people who happened to be the whole NFT space, at that time. But if we wanted things to expand, we're like, we need to get other artists involved. And a lot of real artists were giving resistance from people I talked to. So we thought, okay, one of the cool things we can do is just try to have like artists from 60, 70 different countries, artists who, if they even made $500 by selling an NFT, that could potentially, be what they make in 6 months right now. So we worked with a lot of discovered artists. We found ways to reach them. We reached out to people everywhere online that we could, not in the space. And we tried to help bring them on. And, we got guys who were like in Brazil painting murals on walls with spray cans.
Yeah.
Two of our most amazing artists actually are from Kenya, and they were both introduced to the space, doing very well now through us, including the person who designed the runestone, and including Riot Gear, who's the artist for all of season 1 of Ragnarok. So they're both from Kenya, and Master Brews was the way they got into the space. So I think that was a really cool aspect of it. The other thing we did was we called it kind of fairness of compensation. So we didn't think that it was fair that just because you're an artist, in America or UK, you would get, a price that's 10x, 20x, or 50x. What another artist who's just as good as you doesn't get, right? So we set something where everyone got paid the same at Master Brews, and that was kind of our initiative. What's awesome is we got big people to jump in and help us out. And I want to give, a shout out, for example, to Mark McKenna. He's someone who, for one piece, could easily charge $10,000, $20,000, and he does. He was willing to give us some free art and also charge us the same $500 we were paying anybody else, just to help kind of promote that initiative. So there's some really cool artists in the space, some really humble artists as well. And that was the fun part of working with them. And then we just had to find ways to kind of make the NFTs have utility before utility was a thing.
Yeah.
Because buying art was, only going to last so long. So we tried to come up with systems like having, future dividends. We had some things where we pivoted away from that sounded cool. I still think they're cool, but it just doesn't seem like the timing's right, where we wanted to do stuff like have a brew engine when nobody was starting to do forging yet. Mm-hmm. So the proof of concept of the brew engine would be you get these different supplies, you can buy them as NFTs on the marketplace, and you brew your own virtual beer, not knowing what'll come out. Then you can mint your recipe, and everything we were coming up with was like proof of concepts for tech we thought could be applied and used in the future, since we're so infant in the space. And that's still our goal. Everything we do is trying to push tech forward, and how can we do more with this later, including Ragnarok. Like, it's an on-chain battle game, but the technology and a lot of the techniques we're developing for it are stuff we can be using perhaps for 5 years, 10 years for other projects, other clients. It's not all about just the narrow focus of what the particular project is. So I think that's a good way to say it, other than to add, we have the worst timing of our drops ever. When we dropped Master Brews version 1, it was at the height of the crash, like literally on the day out. When we dropped version 2 after pivoting to like a fun unboxing thing, we literally dropped the day that everything crashed again the second time. And it's still on its report.
Damn, dude. Well, that's interesting, because I did want to talk about timing, because you mentioned that sometimes there's an idea that you want to do and it doesn't work anymore, or the trend passes. Like, there's trends that come and go within weeks sometimes. Everyone wanted staking for a couple months back then, and then staking literally just disappeared one day, and it was gone for a few months, and then it's back. And then there's different things that people want to do. And then, you just said, like, launching in the middle of a bear market, it's just dumb luck sometimes. Like, some projects just happen to launch in the middle of a bull market, and they might even not be that good or not have anything that's that impressive. But since we're on a bull market trend, and I think people forget that if they don't come from an investing background or understand actual economics and marketing, that in a bear market, the reason everything goes down is because people just aren't in the mood to buy the thing, because there's no reason to, because a lot of people are here to flip. And so the interesting thing is, depending on the goals of the project and where they're looking into the future, launching in a bear market is a strategy I've thought about for some people. Like, I feel like Gary Vee would be a proponent of this. He'd be like, you should launch in the bear market. That way people can build with you during the bear market. And I actually thought that might be an interesting thing, because if you do launch in a bear market, the people who are invested in that project, aren't there for the money, aren't there for the flip, because otherwise they would just not mint. So what has that been like, actually minting during a bear market, and how has that process been, and how has it made it harder and maybe even better?
Well, it's easy for someone like Gary Vee to say that, right? Because any mint he does, bear market, bull market, it doesn't really matter. When you have that kind of influence and you have that kind of an audience, what's happening in the market is completely irrelevant. But no, it's a good question, and it's something that we struggle with all the time, because when we're looking at current market conditions. And as you said, we can think of a project and what those market conditions are at that time. We can only hope that those same market conditions stay, but obviously in the space, it's so volatile. 1 week it could be bear market, 1 week it could be a bull market. So the only thing that you can really do is believe in yourself, and be completely transparent with your community. And I think we've done a really good job of that. Heroes and Villains is a really good example. That's one of the projects we were really confident about. We put in a lot of time, a lot of effort. We have a team of artists that have thousands of Marvel and DC comic book credits to their name, and we're building a really cool, innovative comic book themed NFT drop on Solana. And when we were finalizing the project, working on the art, we started in the beginning of Solana summer, and everything was popping, and we're like, this is awesome, everything's popping, people are going to love this project. And then by the time we were ready to launch, well, now it's Solana winter, right? And it still did extremely successful. We didn't mint out, but because we believe in the project and we're so transparent with the community, we just never stop building. We've added so many features. We've done airdrops. We've done staking, which is very rare on Solana because the infrastructure is so much different. We invested in a Rust specialist, and Rust specialists are so high in demand that the cost is ridiculous to kind of get one on your team. But we are so committed in everything that we do that we have no problem investing in it. And even to this date, even though the mint hasn't sold out, we've actually just announced that we're going to be building an actual play to earn game around the project, which we never even promised from the beginning. We talked about a game, we talked about some of the things we could potentially do, but again, we still didn't sell out, but we're reinvesting every cent that we make off of it back into it, and we're going to be dropping the details on Friday. But for us who've invested our livelihoods in this space, it's extremely important that we commit to these projects and continue to be builders in the space. And I think that's what's missing. And I think projects that don't have that mindset and they're dropping during bear markets, they're going to get destroyed. For us, we can hope for a bull market, but in the event, and our luck so far that it has been in bear markets, we still thrive and we're still able to grow. And we just continue to push forward and innovate, and that gets us the attention in the community that we want to build. Like the Heroes and Villains community, even though we didn't mint out, we haven't had many complaints whatsoever about floor pricing or anything. They're just so excited to be in the space. They're excited for everything that we're building, and they're looking forward, and that's what we're all about. We want to continue to grow, and we want to continue to innovate. And luckily for us, we have these strong organic communities, and that allows us to do so. And the fact that we are such believers in this space and we invest every penny that we make in regards to our dividend token for our master brew holders, building games across different projects. And now our team went from, we started off with just 3 or 4 of us, we're up to 14. We have a team of smart contract developers. We have graphic designers. We have community managers. So we are in it for the long haul, regardless of what market it is in, because we believe in this space and we know that even though there is a bear market, Web3 is the future, and we want to be in it. We want to continue to survive in this space because in the long run, we're all going to be able to profit.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Has the I know you're a Bored Ape Yacht Club holder. Has that community and being in that community helped in any way or influenced in any way? Because I know with Bored Ape Yacht Club, they also did mint out. They had 500 the first night, or the on their like pre-sale thing, and they didn't sell off for a little bit, and then they all sold out in one day. But they built the whole time, and they didn't really make any problems. I just did a full review on them the other day, and I was like, damn, bro, they really just said we're a swamp. We just want to be here. We're bored. Like, that's literally it. And everything else came as they built and as the community asked for these things. They wanted this, and then some celebrities got it and whatnot, and that's just how it played out there. But has anything from the Bored Ape Yacht Club helped you in any way, you think?
It's interesting analyzing that project, and especially being part of the community. And I need to choose my words carefully here. I think in the beginning, we both minted our apes when the floor was like 2 ETH or something like that, which is almost a year ago. And being
Wild.
part of that community was amazing because everyone was so hyped about the project. They all, wanted to help the project grow. And now that we're sitting at 80 or 90 ETH floor, I've noticed, and I don't know if it's just my opinion, but maybe because I haven't been able to spend as much time as I'd like in that community, but I've noticed that the community sentiment has changed so much. And, obviously the Bored Apes, like you mentioned, there's celebrities, there's athletes. It's become like, the elite of the elite club to be part of. And I think naturally the sentiment of that club in general is going to change. You have a lot of people in there that love the project, but they're not there to kind of push it forward that we used to see in the beginning. And I think, my kind of feelings about the community in general have changed a bit. There's still some solid people that have been there from the start that are super helpful. But then I feel like we're seeing a lot of kind of different type of members join that don't have that same passion. They're kind of joining to be part of the club, but they're not really there to help the club grow. And
Is there a way to
it's
stop that?
changed quite a bit.
Is there a
Sorry?
way to avoid that? If a project gets to a certain level, what can you do to, like, is there like some kind of extra thing you can do or drop some kind of special thing where you can somehow reward or keep the culture from the beginning of what it was as to what it turned into?
I think it spins off, right? So a great example would be Jenkins' Writer's Room.
Mhm.
And if you're familiar with that, that's a bunch of the OG Bored Apes, right? If you go in there with an ape, it's still smaller, it's still a little bit lesser known. So everyone in there is like really OG, really friendly, really still have the initial vibe. Where if you talk to them about something, they'll give you advice, they'll give you help, they'll still be very friendly. If you jump into like the main Bored Ape, like general channel, no, unless you're one of like the 5 influencer guys, like a Tropal Farmer type,
Yeah.
nobody's going to answer your message whatsoever. Nobody's going to care that you're in there.
Yeah.
So it's fractioned off. So I really think that if you want to get the community vibe, you have to join one of the kind of like sub communities
Sure.
that have formed from it, as opposed to the main one, which is, obviously it's their goal and it's great that they've gone mainstream. But yeah, whenever you go bigger and mainstream, you're going to obviously lose some of the underground feel you have when everyone's hoping it turns into something. And I think that's natural. I don't think it's something you really can avoid. So the more people that just buy it based on being able to flip it or buy it as an investment, it's just going to stay that way. And that's natural. And people will just have to look a little deeper to find the groups they want to be part of that are associated with it. But I would say not the direct, like, general chat or stuff like that.
Another good thing that I think they did well is obviously dropping their dogs and the mutants, right? That allowed a lot of community members who couldn't afford an ape to still be part of the club at a discounted price. And I like how they staggered it. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to drop one this month, drop another one next month, and can continue to kind of do cash grabs as much as they possibly can and take advantage of how big the community has grown. They've done it in a very intelligent way where they spread it out and they kind of let the market dictate when another one is warranted. So, you're looking at mutants, which last time was between 15 and 18 ETH, and then compared to 90 ETH of an ape, that's quite a big gap. So you still have an opportunity to jump in, be part of the club, and the mutants for the most part have access to everything that original ape have access to. Like for their Ape Fest, mutants were able to go to the yacht parties. They were able to go to the warehouse parties. They were able to take part of it at a much discounted price for cost of entry. So I think what they've done with their drops and obviously with the mutants and the serums, that was an innovative way of not just having a normal boring airdrop. They added so much cool mechanics to it, and even looking at the M3 serums that sell for millions of dollars, like, come on, like, who would have thought of doing something like that, which was super intelligent. So this is why they're the top NFT project in the space, because they have such a smart team and they continue to build and they continue to give value and a reason to be involved. So, that's why everyone wants to be them, because they've just done everything right.
I do want to say on the mutants part, and Adam knows this very well, I cannot stand how they did it, and I'll explain why. So everyone loves it. It's great. I do agree that airdropping the serums is perfect, but I'm a big believer in matching your lore, your storyline, your universe, your functionality, and everything should make sense. So it does me that if I am an ape and I drink a mutant serum, I don't mutate. Suddenly there is a magic clone of me that is a mutant. And these are things I think that, obviously could have been addressed. Like your ape could have discovered a lab where he steps in a machine and the clone comes out, right?
Sure.
Like there are obviously ways you can explain this away. So that is probably my biggest pet peeve in the space. When I see things, no matter who it's from, where the storyline and the lore doesn't match what's happening, that's the personal.
Come on, you just have to use your imagination. You just have to use your imagination.
Make it work.
Well, I guess this is still in sort of in relation to Sporty Yacht Club, but also in relation to you guys. So Yuga Labs owns Sporty Yacht Club. It's like the mother of Sporty Yacht Club. They own them. There's a multitude of projects that do this, but there's also a bunch of projects that don't do that. You guys have Master Brews that is in charge of Ragnarok. What was the reason that you guys decided to go with that one versus just like a project-led one, like many other projects in the space? Is there a specific reason?
Oh, sorry, you broke up a little bit for me. So I heard, why did we go with Ragnarok as a separate project, or
no? Why? I got it. Why did we start with Master Brews as like the parent company and have the other projects under the parent company instead of having it separate? Well, there's a few reasons that we wanted to go that route. Number one reason was we definitely wanted to have a legitimate corporation behind us. We're fully doxed. We wanted to do things the proper way, and I think that kind of level of transparency helps, especially in the space. So we are like incorporated in the Isle of Man. We have our corporate registration number and taxes and all that stuff that's done through the Isle of Man. And second reason is, to us, brand reputation means a lot. And when we drop a project, at the bottom of each project, you can see the Powered by Master Brews sign. And I think we want to build it up so that means something to the community. If we just kept dropping projects and maybe we drop our names on it or drop the artist's name on it, but there's no reference back to our parent company, it loses a lot of that transparency. And to us, it just didn't make sense. So there was a few different benefits that we felt, building upon the Master Brews name. And also to our original Master Brews holders, we want to ensure that we appreciate them, because essentially they were our first investors. They allowed us to be able to quit our jobs and commit to this full time. So letting them see all the projects we're involved with, they can see how much revenue we're generating. And we give that 5% cut of every dollar we earn from these partner projects into our dividend contract, where they can collect their dividend revenue from. So it was all those things combined that it just made sense to do it that way.
Yeah, I think it is.
And if someone wants to come down and want to offer us $100 million for Master Brews, hey, we have everything compact in one, and off you go.
Yeah, so I will mention, since we're on that topic, so a lot of projects, sometimes people are confused, right? Is it a client? How much is Master Brews involved? And that's something, we try to be open and transparent about. But as of yesterday, I can share, since we shared it yesterday, so you're not getting this one first, but close to first video, I think. It'll be the first video where it's announced. So we have 100% acquired whelps, which includes everything from the assets, the IP, the liabilities. We've been very involved already, of course, with that project, especially on the game development side. So we've been working hand in hand with the studio for 3 months now, 4 months, I'm not sure how long. So that's something where, when it's a project, we really, it's kind of like a flagship for us. And that one especially was, other than Master Brews, was like our first baby, our first sellout. It's, we're very pleased that now we have 100% control. We can shape it exactly how we want. And it will be a flagship of our play to earn kind of video game. Let's call it mini empire we hope to build.
Hell yeah.
And that's a topic where we think that's going to obviously be the next hot thing in the space, but not the way most of them are being done. Like a lot of people are just wrapping utility, right? They're calling it a game, and they're like, here's a token, it's play to earn, boom.
Yeah.
No, the real play to earn games are going to be coming out in a year or so. Sure, there'll be demos first, including our own, but we're like a year away from starting to see the real play to earn games. And then we're maybe 2 to 3 years away from just seeing it just called a game, because play to earn will be by default, right? So that's what we want to get to. And the games we're building are video games first, hopefully fun video games first. And then we tie in the blockchain to leverage its, the advantages of using it. And we tie in the play to earn aspects. So that's the approach we're taking with Whelps, with Heroes and Villains. Ragnarok obviously is on chain. It's a little different approach, but the same thing. We still want people to have fun with it. We want to have a really good engaged community around it. And at the end of the day, the tokens and the prizes and whatnot, that's a different thing we're just trying out. But the core is it should still be fun. And every season we're going to include new ways people can interact. Like for season 1, we thought, hey, people might get bored in the 48 hours between rounds, right? So what can we add there other than, Discord activities? So now there's a choice you can make. You can sacrifice your potential loser purse for the next battle. And if you do that, you get a little boost to your upcoming battle. It's kind of like sacrificing to your god, the god of your faction. So, that's something that adds some risk. It adds a decision. And again, it won't even cost you gas because of the way we're wrapping it. So, I think season 2, there'll be player versus player wagering. Season 3 will have another new mechanic, and so on and so forth, to try to just keep people interested in having fun. Because I don't know, I guess some people like it, but I would find it a grind if all you're doing is jumping in, trying to get whitelists, trying to flip stuff as a living. Obviously, it's a great living for a lot of people, but it's boring. It's a chore. It's like not fun. Stressful. And neither are, I know people love these games, but I'm going to say games like Axie and Townstar from Gala Games, they're chores. Like, they're not fun games. You got to do these tasks if you want to make your money, and that's it. So, I know that'll be maybe an unpopular opinion with some people, but I'm never afraid, as Adam will attest, I'm never afraid to be the unpopular one.
Well, since you guys have this unique perspective that you're actually in the thick of it, doing these things, having software developers, and actually managing some of these guys, what are some things that projects have no fucking clue that they're about to get themselves into that you guys have noticed firsthand because you're actually dealing with these on a day-to-day basis?
Solana, that's one. Let me just tell you, from a tech perspective, anything you take for granted on other chains, I think it's because of the lack of resources, lack of documentation, the fact it's still very much in its infancy. It really blew up by doing some simple drops, simple things. And I believe they'll get there. That's why we're still invested in them in Heroes and Villains. And we are still building the game out on Solana. But it's definitely in growing pains right now. So, anyone trying to do utility and really cool, unique things there, I think everyone underestimates what level of difficulty it is, including ourselves. Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is, don't promise things and don't promise deadlines if you don't have a clue what you're doing, because you'll lose your community fast. Like, there's a million other places they can jump to. And people are starting to care more about teams that deliver on their promises, not, hey, we're building the new metaverse. We're going to have this, we're going to have that. And no, people are catching on that those roadmap items not genuine. Yeah. So.
I think from a business and marketing perspective, if you go 3-4 months back, there was a lot of hyped projects that obviously did really, really poorly. And when you go and check out the project, I know for me as an investor, I would look at, all right, how many people are on their Twitter, how many people are on the Discord, and some people kind of did their half-ass kind of, due diligence. And those were the, first two things that they would look at. And from there, they were sold. And a lot of projects caught that on, and they would try to work with, anyone and anyone out in the space. And now you see some projects with Discords and Twitter with like 100,000 people or 200,000 people following them, and then the drop does extremely poorly. So I think a lot of people are now understanding that numbers is not the end all and be all to determine if a project is going to succeed or not. You really have to spend the time. You have to look at who is building this project. What is the project about? You know, what are they doing in Discord? Are they jumping on, you know, kind of AMAs like this and wanting to be completely transparent about the space? There's so much more that goes into it. And people are realizing that because, man, I've seen and I'm like, wow, these guys have 150,000 in Twitter and, you know, 80,000 in Discord. Let me jump in. And I'm like, all right, chat's pretty active. You know, what are they talking about? And it's just the most random things. And then you kind of pick up on the little cues. It's like, all right, this seems a little bit sketch, but, you know, maybe the hype is real. And then when drop comes, everything kind of falls apart. And then you realize that, all right, these guys weren't trying to build something. They were just trying to shill the project to everyone they possibly could. And now you're kind of seeing the result. And what we're doing a bit differently, because, you know, we've seen kind of the trends going on. Our main focus is to partner up with strong communities, try to get opportunities to talk about the project and let the community decide, hey, is this cool or is it not? We don't want to kind of shill it out to everybody and fabricate the hype. We want the organic hype that comes from it, if they believe in the project or not. And that's why with our whitelist, you know, you guys talked about it earlier, it's a grind to get a whitelist. With us, we're not doing any of that. There's no invite contest. There's no, you know, make sure your chat level is level 100 and you might get a chance for a whitelist. For us, it's like, hey, pay attention to us, participate in, you know, fun games that we're doing, and everybody has a fair chance of getting a whitelist. Or if you're part of these strong communities that we want to build with, then hey, you instantly get a whitelist, because that shows us that you're committed to these projects and you want us to succeed. So obviously those are the type of people we're trying to attract. So we're lucky that we've been in this space for, you know, close to a year now. We've partnered with some amazing projects, from Coin Game Dev Squad to White Rabbit by Gate. Yeah, Coin Games is dope. And Ape List and a bunch of different DAO groups. You know, we're going to be doing a partnership with Dre's, who has an amazing alpha group out there that helps the community learn and educate about the space and be wary of the scams and the rug pulls and stuff. So that's kind of our approach when it comes to building up an organic community. It might not be the way people expect it, because when they jump in the Discord, like, hey, how come you guys only grew by 200 and not by 20,000 overnight? It's like, well, if a Discord's growing by 20,000, then there's some red flags there. You need to take a closer look. But that's kind of our approach, and, you know, we'll see how it works out, but we're pretty confident, because our community, I feel, is really engaged. And, you know, once we dropped news and sneak peeks, man, there's just so much positive feedback. And as a builder and as a creator, we just love to see it.
Yeah, I will take a second to shout out to our groupies. I see.
Let's go.
Cheers to all of you.
Dude, you guys got some lovers in here, man. They're hyped.
You know, I thought they should have been called Brewskis, like SKIS, but
man, don't peg them down. Let them go with their name.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And actually, we are considering something about, you know, I don't know if Adam wants me to share this, but it's too late now. We are consolidating some of our communities into one main master replace, because there is a lot of overlap. There is a lot of people who are groupies and, you know, follow us. And it's hard to really stretch ourselves thin and focus on, like, let's say, you know, one Discord per project, the Master Brews Discord. Often the Master Brews Discord, for example, gets a little bit neglected. So we're kind of thinking of ways where we might actually combine things, and it gives us a lot of benefits to people, stuff we can do, streamlines things. We're very, you know, fans of being streamlined and efficient. And it's also going to be, I think, more welcoming when people hop in. They can get, you know, ask a question about any of our projects. Someone will help them right away there. For engagement, things like games, or if you want to find out, you know, what's going on, news. We just think it's going to be better for everyone. So that's definitely an idea we're exploring. You know, nothing's decided yet. Nothing's happening tomorrow. But I think in the future, yeah, we will kind of make Master Brews kind of the hub, if you will, central hub, and then everything will be self-contained within it. So that's one thing. Yeah, that's more alpha for you. No one knows about yet.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. What do you think is the catalyst for an engaged Discord? Because a lot of times when you're researching a project to see if it's worth minting or jumping into, you check to see what the Discord activity is looking like. But how do you actually cultivate a Discord where it's not just good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, in every single message? Like, what is the thing that keeps people coming back to your Discord versus someone else's?
For me personally, it's when the project drops announcements or sneak peeks and how many people react to it and ask questions or want to learn more. I think you kind of have to weed through, like you said, there's a lot of good mornings. Even in our Discord, I'm not going to lie, we have a lot of people that hop in, they say good morning, and then they're kind of gone.
Yeah.
And I get why they do that. They want to make sure that there is some sort of chat record for them, and there's probably what a lot of other projects do is if you don't chat X amount of times and you have a whitelist spot, they're going to take it away. And that's kind of that mentality. Hey, you're forced to be here and you're forced to engage, and I don't like that at all. I feel like if you want to, what we're trying to build is we want you to come and engage. We want you to participate. We don't want to force any of that engagement. So when I jump into Discords, the first thing I look at is the announcements. I look at I go back and find the date of that announcement. And once that announcement was dropped, not just looking at the the emojis that are tied to the announcement, but how many people are actually talking about it. And if it's a good amount, then I feel a bit more confident in that project. But there's so many different things that you have to do to kind of gauge the kind of hype level of the project. But that's one of the main things that I quickly do. And then if it passed that check mark, then I go down the list and start doing more investigation into it.
Yeah, I think for me, if the founders are active in the chat when it's not just time to sell something, meaning they're talking about when we're all busy people and we're extremely busy, but it helps us getting a pulse on what people want, listen to their suggestions, but also just have fun with them. Like, we need a break too, right? So if we're in there talking about a video game or a movie or something totally, a comic book, like kind of related but unrelated to the project whatsoever, that I think is what shows me. If people are using it as a hangout and talking about things in general, then I feel like that's a success. Like, those people are engaged, they like the community, they like they're making friends in there, and that's something that's going to last. That helps. I think people don't care about the floor or things happening too quick. Like, if you're building something, if they're enjoying just hanging out there and it's kind of become like their daily routine or whatever time frame. So a great example are our brewpies / brewskis. And so, a lot of them are in multiple of our channels, but everywhere you see them talking together, like I would see friends hanging out in a chat room, in the old days. I'm old enough to have been in IRC and EBS chat rooms. So definitely it's that type of vibe we look for. And numbers, it's okay. Number 2 pet peeve is too many people still rely on numbers and will pass over good projects because they don't have those numbers. There are people who Adam's reached out to, for example, let's say YouTube reviewers or other people who are like, oh, you don't have 20,000 people following you on Twitter, like, we're not going to review your project.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we can go buy those people like in an hour.
Exactly, dude. That's what I don't get. They're like, you don't have the numbers. I'm like, bro, half these people did whitelist giveaways to get all their followers. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, so that's something that is unfortunate, I find, in the space. There's numerous projects out there that have really cool ideas, good teams, and they're suffering to get awareness. And even a company like ours, it's hard to get awareness if you don't show those numbers. But at some point, you have to pick, you have to draw a line. And we draw that line where, no, we don't want those types of people. We don't want inflated things. And they don't translate to sales anyways. Like, the short-term benefits you're going to get of a few extra minters is fading away now too. We just saw one that I think had 50,000 people in their Discord, 80,000 on Twitter. And I think after their big hype mint, they got like 200 holders and 300 minted. So I think people are going to wisen up, and I'm happy to see that. So
well, in the end, it doesn't matter how the mint goes. It's not like Amazon was a beast when they first started. It was fucking. He was in his office, like in his bedroom, and he had like piece of shit shells and like was selling stupid stuff and like. And it's funny that a second ago when you brought up being in the chat, not when you're trying to sell something, only when you just want to be in there to talk. I thought immediately. I thought of the. I think it was Gary Vee interviewing Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg was like, man, I had to know what Tinder was about. So I had to make a Tinder, and I was like, oh my fucking God. I could not just imagine matching with Mark Zuckerberg on Tinder because he's doing an experiment. And I thought that was so funny, but it's so true. You do need to be in there testing it out, because what I've noticed is there's a bunch of YouTubers that I used to watch before I started doing my own YouTube stuff, that they were very involved in the space because they didn't have their own thing yet. A lot of them have started their own NFT projects since. Their nose is down in the books doing their own shit as they should be. Yet they're still making predictions on the whole market when they're not even involved, and their predictions are painfully bad. And I'm sitting there like, bro, what are you doing? You've got like 400,000 followers, and I used to listen to you because you know what you're talking about, but now you're not doing your due diligence, and you're still making the claims. It doesn't make any sense. But you have to be in there doing the dirty work. Otherwise, you're blind,
And suggestions. This is one thing I feel like a lot of communities I'm in, they ignore their community suggestions. And there's a lot of smart people out there who look at things from different points of view, right? Like we're in the rabbit hole. We have tunnel vision sometimes, and they'll give us great ideas. Now, we can't always accommodate them, or we have reasons that might not even be revealed yet, like when it relates to upcoming tokenomics, working with launch pads, right? They have rules, game mechanics, and there's reasons why. But at least we'll let people know we appreciate them. We do look at all the suggestions. Hopefully we don't miss any too often, but we actually do implement them, which is the difference. We've definitely had people see we implement it, thank us, be like, wow, I can't believe you listen to me. And, I think that's something more communities can do, because a lot of people do have an ego about, no, our way is the best way, that's why we're in charge. And no, I think everything should be like a collaboration, and not to the point of DAOs. I don't believe in democracy or DAOs. So
it's not smart. They don't know. They've never ran a project for most of the people, so they may have good ideas. And then, exactly. You said you can take those in, but there are some things where you're like, look, that's a good idea, but that's not a thing. Sorry.
We've heard directly from some of our holders. They're not interested in that type of leadership because they're investing in the team as much as the project for the type of stuff we're building. They're relying on our experience and expertise. They don't want this to be a free-for-all popular vote, because I wouldn't, right? If I'm in a project and, okay, there's 200 people, everyone gets a vote, generally things are going to go the way I probably disagree with. And I feel that I'm in a better position than many of those folks to make that kind of decision. Like, let's say it came to something, I don't know, technical. I wouldn't want my fate to be decided by a bunch of random people who are just voting based on short-term, agendas, or trying to flip something or whatever it may be. So I think in our case, we're not going to ever go that route. We're going to always be, there's people in charge, but listen to your community. Very often there's good ideas, and implement them when it makes sense. So,
100%. Do you have any thoughts on that, or is that pretty much it?
No, I go through this every day with them. we have our own internal struggles. We don't need to involve 200 more people into our disagreements. It's we're both very opinionated people. We come from different strong backgrounds. So there have been times where we completely disagree with each other. And, luckily it's been fun because we both respect each other. So we give each other's opportunities to kind of voice their opinions. And I think up until this day, at the end, we've always been able to resolve it, whether it's he agrees with me or I agree with him. We were able to do that. So I'm just, when we looked at DAOs, I'm like, man, for between the two of us, it's, we come to have some struggles and some heated, discussions. I can't imagine involving thousands of other people in that. Like, that would just be insane. But, I think in some, some projects it might make sense, but for what we're doing, it just doesn't.
Well, the other thing is people use the term wrong. They throw it around, and the popularization of it is, it's governance and it's a community that manages itself, but that's not the real, definition of it. So something like Bitcoin, people don't know, but Bitcoin is a DAO, and that's, on the technical side, what a DAO is. It's decentralized, it's autonomous, and it's something that's there even if people are not making any more conscious decisions. But I find, when people throw it around, they're strictly speaking about, a small little democracy of people. And sometimes some of those, we get the vibe that there's a lot of nepotism going on too. So you'll have people who are very much of the same opinion, pretending you have a vote and you really don't. So.
Well, like in my Discord, or my brand, I don't have an NFT project. I'm going to be building my brand for a while. I just don't have time to run the project and do YouTube. I'm just like, there's no way I could do both right now. So I'm building my brand right now. But in my Discord, I have a DAO channel, but it's just the buzzword, right? That's what most DAOs are anyway. But my DAO is way more honed in, I guess, because I'm not gonna obviously let them choose everything for my brand, because that's stupid, as we just kind of agreed on. I pick certain things where I'm like, okay, I'm pretty indifferent whichever one we do here. Like, for example, the other day I was like, okay, I'm reviewing World of Women and I'm reviewing Uwu Crew or something. I was like, which one do you want first? I'm doing both, but which one do you guys rather have first? Because I don't care. And so I let them vote on things like that, where it's like, yes, it gets them involved. They do get to have a say in the decision, but it ultimately isn't going to affect the business and affect, like, I don't know, just certain things that you can do DAOs on. Just do like small little votes on, or you're like, hey guys, do you want this announcement dropped tonight or tomorrow morning? Like, just for fun, and it gets them involved. It's cool because the guys in the chat, they fucking love you guys. So like, they're in the chat talking to you guys. And, there's people, I saw a few people in here saying they feel heard. And that's something you don't really see in many Discords, especially big ones. So I'm curious, how are you guys gonna manage? Because, or like, say you guys get to, I don't know, 50,000 people in the Discord or something one day. Like, is it even possible at that point to maintain that level of intimacy, or is it pretty much like, damn,
it wasn't even possible. Like, once we got Whelps off the ground and then we started helping out with other projects, we quickly realized that our involvement wasn't to the level that we liked it to be. And we quickly rectified that by expanding the team. And that's kind of what you have to do. You have to expand the team as you grow, because it's just not sustainable. So we were lucky we were able to find the Penguin VA, that's his Discord name, Jason, and he was an original Master Brews holder, and by pure luck, he just DM'd us, and because he was involved in our community, and I think he kind of knew that we were struggling with time because we were just pulling ridiculous hours, and he DM'd us. He's like, hey, here's my resume. I know you guys didn't say you're hiring, but if you guys are hiring, I'd love a job. And then I was like, wow, this guy like had some sixth sense that we were kind of looking to hire. And we interviewed him, and honestly, it was probably one of the best hires we could have possibly asked for at that specific time, because it was so needed. And he's been able to help us stay connected without us having to commit so much time in Discord. So anything that we miss, he's on top of it. If anyone has any issues, he's quick to handle it. He engages with the communities where we'd like to be personally, but can't, because we're doing so many other things. And I think that's the best way to do it, is to bring people onto your team that have the same mindset, that are familiar with who you are and want to help you grow. And now we've hired, a second individual, and JPM, and he's been helping us with Ragnarok and Whelps now that we've taken over Whelps. And again, he was already involved in the space. He was a Whelps holder already, and he just understood what we were trying to do. And these are probably the best community managers we could ask for, because they've done such a good job and allow us to grow by taking some of that load off our plates.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning, especially, we tried other mods, and there was people who were experienced mods, so to put it, but doing like 5-6 projects at a time, but then jumping around. And I compare them kind of to like salespeople in the world of sales.
Yeah.
They jump around, bring their Rolodex with them, make a lot of promises, usually don't work out. And I think, for this type of role, the best people come from the community. You promote from within for that particular spot. And that's where we do it. I will mention the Penguin. He made me kind of laugh, but it was great that he's the only person who ever applied for such a type of role, that the first thing they did was say, can I send you my professional resume?
Hell yeah.
and like a standard CV, like an old school CV. So I thought that was pretty unique in this space, especially.
Yeah.
And yeah, it definitely did make a difference, though. Like he acted professionally from the first conversation. We didn't get a message, "Hey, bro, you guys want me because I'm in this Discord and they all sold out, and it's because of me."
Yeah. That's funny. Well, you guys, I mean, there are opportunities, in Discord. If you're chatting to the people in the project and you're talking to everyone, there are opportunities because like two of my mods in my Discord who just help out for fun because they're already in there. They basically just were like, "Yo, like you don't gotta pay me. I'm already in there, basically being a mod anyway." And so we just he was like, "I need some experience and I want to work in Web3 somehow for like a project. He goes, "Can I just like mod in here?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so we did that. Now they've got some experience doing it. They've kicked some people out who are being idiots. I have this guy who's always in there, basically being a community manager, and just doing it because he just likes being there. And I was like, "Yo, I don't know if you care to work in Web3, but if you want me to just give you the role of community manager and you can kind of start to take this in your own direction, start to do something here, and maybe treat this almost like an opportunity to get some experience." And he's done incredible. And now he's working in a couple other Discords and stuff. So I just wanted to say, absolutely, yeah, you have a huge opportunity. If you're in Discord, you're talking to people, and you think that there's a skill set you have that they might need, you 100% should reach out. The worst thing they could say is no. And which is going to lead me into my next question, because you guys both come from, you were a chief operating officer, technology officer, you were managing, you guys both have like managing experience, managing people, talking to people. How specifically has those positions lended you when now we are in a fully virtual setting, where you're managing people, but like not really, it's like they're like all commission people, right? Like even mod, but he's also modding in 4 other places. Like how has that managing been for you guys, and how different has it been in like,
Well, they're exclusive to us, meaning we're very happy that if they want to do their own projects, for example, Penguin started a podcast with someone I see popped in here who I'm going to embarrass. We have a comic book all-star in here, a lovely artist named Ross the Boss Campbell. And I see he snuck in, and I know that this is going to make him blush over there in Scotland. He started, him and Penguin started their own podcast. And first of all, it was super respectful, right? We were asked if there was any problems, conflicts of interest. They didn't just go do this stuff, like they considered it. We're more than happy to help them, anytime we can, whether it's promoting it or just supporting them in general. The same way that if they're doing their own project, we're going to support them and help them. So it's something where, they're part of our Master Brews family. And although we do exclusively want them, like if Penguin told us I'd like to be mod for this other community, we'll discuss it. But probably in general, unless it's his own thing, we're going to say no, because he's way too busy as it is. But, yeah, that's the difference, I think, between having like people on our team full time and just having some of the mods who, like I was saying, were like salespeople who kind of just hop around and go with whatever they can get. So, it's better too, because the more you are involved, the more passionate you are, the better ideas you bring up, the more we can include them. Like there's never a competition for their time, like if we want to get something done. So I think it's important to have all key roles on your team be filled with people who are pretty much dedicated to you, while at the same time allowing them to still grow and still expand their experiences.
But it is a natural growing pain for us because, luckily for both of us, some of the companies we worked with, we had offices around the world, and some of those guys were remote. So we have experience working with remote employees. And now for us, we don't have an office, so everyone is remote. And now that we have our team of 14, our turnover has been pretty high, and we've probably gone through 30 to 40 individuals, because it becomes, with the experience that we have, we can tell pretty quickly, are they committed? Are they working on 3 or 4 projects at the time? Are they not committing the hours that they're expected to? So it is extremely difficult to manage, and that's why trusting the individuals that you work with is extremely important. But I think for us with the experience, once we onboard someone new, it's pretty easy for us to tell if they are committed and if they are putting in the amount of hours they're supposed to. And having, especially on the development technical side, where I think it is more common to find, adding on a developer and they're actually working on 2 to 3 different projects at the same time. Because Keith is a developer, he knows how long things take. Just because he's not doing it himself, he has a good idea.
Like, wait a second.
Yeah, exactly. And then, guy give him a task and it takes him 3 days. And he's like, what the hell? I could do this in 4 hours. What the hell were you doing for 3 days? Then we know pretty quickly. And that's why I think our business partnership works out really well, because on the technical side, if that guy told me 3 days, I'd be like, all right, I guess that's what it is. I don't know. So we kind of cover both sides pretty well in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, and let's just say there's a lot of devs we had to roll through to keep finding new gems. So that's probably I think the position we've had the most turnover and will always have the most turnover, especially with something as sensitive as smart contracts. Like, you really need people you can trust, and we're very lucky to have, at this point, it took us a year, I would say, find 3 really solid guys. Mm-hmm. So if you go at that pace, it's not easy to find. So
wow, yeah. Have you guys had any glaring fuck ups where you're like, oh my god, that did not just happen? Have you guys had anything like that yet?
Adam, that's my glaring fuck up.
Wow. I'm the winning lottery ticket for you. You kiss that ticket every day. Thank God.
I'm trying to think, but to be honest, I don't remember. We've obviously had like little bugs here, little mistakes there. I don't recall us having any major contract issues like where
we've had close calls. We've had close calls. Like for Whelps, we had a close call because there was a part of that smart contract that we architect that we didn't account for. And I remember me, our smart contract developer, and Keith, we were up for, I think, like 30 hours straight, a couple of days before launch, because it completely threw out everything. But they were able to figure out, thank God. But that was probably the one that really stands out.
Oh, but that wasn't something that happened though. Like, it wasn't a fuck up because it wasn't public.
It wasn't a fuck up. It was just something that changed our whole plan with it, and we had to adapt to kind of last minute.
What would that be, you think? Like, is that something founders, because I haven't founded a project. I've worked with a few. I've talked to a bunch of people who have done it. But is that something you guys do in any kind of business venture? Do you think about what could be the biggest mistake and try to proactively fix it and set up things? Or is it just one of those things you roll with it, and then if it happens, you're like, damn?
No, we try to do a lot of testing with the contract, think of everything, because it is permanent. There are ways to upgrade it through proxies and other methods which we use. But yeah, for the most part, your mistakes can be permanent and destroy something. Like, there's a project, and I don't remember their name, but they came out and they tried to customize the withdrawal function of their contract for their project, which, we've done, and it's something there's reasons to do, like implement sharing or have different things involved. Mm-hmm. And they screwed that up and they could not withdraw. So they actually sold the project out.
Oh my God.
I think it made at the time, $800,000, $900,000, whatever it was. And they have zero ability to get the money out, and that ruined the project's completely dead. Now they can't even do anything for the holders. They can't refund them. They couldn't do anything. And all of that was from a very simple, didn't test your contract, didn't test your withdrawal. So you know what? We've had clients for that particular function where we've customized it. And we're like, look, as much as we've tested it on testnet, as soon as you put it live, mint the first one so you can go set up your OpenSea collection.
Yeah.
And as soon as you mint that one, withdraw it. Mm-hmm. And we've had clients go, oh, but no, if people see a withdraw, they're going to think it's weird. I'm like, first of all, it's 1. It's like decimal 0.8 to withdraw. Number 2, don't you think it looks better that you're testing this at that risk before you actually launch? And, and I tell them the story of the other people, and they're like, oh, that can happen? We're like, yes, that can happen. There's another one who I think they got lucky and they withdrew before people realized kind of how to read contracts on Etherscan and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But they forgot to set the withdrawal function as only for the owner. So
oh my God, bro.
Across it in time, would have been able to withdraw all their funds. And that's just talking about one function, right? So there's a lot that can go wrong, and there are a lot of people. Like I'll be the first to admit, I hate testing. Testing sucks. Testing is boring. There's so many cases you have to go through, and it's very time consuming. But that is by far, I think, the thing most, maybe not most. Let's say a lot of projects can do better or do some of, because I feel like we've been given contracts to review for audit where they're like, we fully tested it, it's ready to go, and we're like, but there's like these major issues here. Like there's no way you tested that function or you would have realized immediately. Like there's no way you tested it. Don't lie to us. So yeah, I think that's something that people can try to adopt a little better effort at, as much as it sucks to test stuff.
Damn, dude, that is fucking wild. I can't imagine doing everything right and then not being able to take the money out, or anyone being able to take the money out. That is wild. That is wild.
As you know, we've done like 25 contracts probably by now. None of them have had such a problem. Yeah. Every new one I deploy, as soon as we see sales piling in the contract, I'm like, I really hope withdrawal works. I know we tested it like a million times.
Yeah, how has that actually been? As project founders who have gone through all the bullshit of that and testing and all these things, how walk me through your process when you're going to invest in other projects or you're about to mint another project. Are there things that are very specific that you're looking at that other people probably aren't, that they should be maybe?
So a disturbing trend, I will say, is a lot of projects refuse to verify their contracts before their drop. Now, it's not impossible to decode it, but it's not perfect either. So it's kind of hard to read something where there's a bit of hex code, for example, mixed in, and try to figure out if their functions are written right or not, if part of it is obfuscated. So yeah, it's a disturbing trend that people are hiding their contracts more and more. So I would tend to, unless it's people I know that are running the project or people I trust, like say, yeah, we know these guys, they're good guys. Any project that's not revealing their contract, as soon as it's deployed, like if you're not verifying it, whether it's either it could be innocent and it's technical like negligence or inexperience, well, that would worry me about your project. Yeah. And then if you're doing it on purpose, whatever some people say, oh, I don't want someone to figure out how to exploit it or, get their bot ready or stuff like that. Well, if that's your concern, your contract's not built well. So I guess that would be a key thing from the technical side of things for me.
Yeah. And then for me, Adam, anything?
Honestly, we've just been so busy that me actually spending the time that I feel is necessary to look into the project just hasn't been happening lately. So I haven't been minting too much stuff. Luckily, we've built a lot of good relationships and friends, and a lot of them are able to do a lot of due diligence. So most of the time I'll just get a ping and be like, hey, this project looks cool, check it out. So, and then I'll be like, all right, well, give me a brief summary, and they break it down. And I've been trusting their word on it. And that's kind of how I kind of jump in. So, it changes so often. And obviously we're aware of some of the trends in regards to the marketing side of things. But the amount of due diligence that I hope a lot of these people do, it requires a ridiculous amount of time to really analyze, to be comfortable by giving them, hundreds of dollars for a mint. But technical side is definitely important as well. And I understand a lot of people are not able to do the things that Keith is able to do. But trying to educate yourself, there's really cool YouTube videos that I've watched to kind of be more familiar with the space, so I can at least keep up with the conversations with Keith when he's telling me stuff, and I understand what he's talking about in regards to smart contract development. So definitely spend that time, and you don't have to be a coder, but you can definitely understand. Right. And Solidity is good that it's very readable if you understand and where to look. So, and it'll take you, an hour or 2 hours, watch some YouTube videos. Maybe that's something you could do as a future video, kind of break down what a typical smart contract looks like. And, I'm sure I'll volunteer Keith's time. He can hop on and kind of educate your listeners on
that'd actually be that'd be really good.
I think it would be a fantastic video. And, that'll help, kind of dictate if it's worth aping into or not.
I will say that as far as relying on other people's recommendations, Adam has had me buy some lovely things.
Oh,
We'll
no.
Pixelmon, that was a great one.
Oh God, bro! Oh my God.
To be fair, I told Keith, I'm like, look, this ridiculous project, so much hype. It minted at 3 ETH. Now they're about to do a reveal. It crashed. It's like half the price. Let's just buy one for shits and giggles. Man, was that horrible.
Dude, I did the same shit with stacked toads. It went up to like 4 ETH or something, and then it crashed in the bear market, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, half an ETH each? Buying opportunity, and it has done absolutely jack shit since.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at my purchases. One is I don't have time to research, but two is I buy stuff I like, and what I like is never the stuff other people like it that skyrockets.
That's
for the most part, at least I have a wallet with some cool art in it that I appreciate, and that's great advice. I don't know who said it first, but if you buy art you like, you're buying art. Like if I go buy a painting somewhere that I see from a street artist, and even if I give them $100 or something, well, that's all I'm getting, right? Like there shouldn't be these crazy expectations. You get a piece of art that you like, and that's what you're buying, and then everything else should be a bonus, I think.
I agree. I agree. Well, listen, as we bring this episode sort of to a close, I had one question I think would be really good to semi-end on, which would be, as founders and as also participants in the NFT space, where do you see the NFT space going in the next 5 to 10 years, 10 to 20 years maybe? And then also, where do you want it to be in 10 to 20 years as a founder and as a participant?
I would like it to get to the point where it's so ingrained in everyday life that nobody calls it NFTs anymore. Nobody calls it blockchain, and I do think it is going to get there. Right now, you have to get over hurdles. Like there's still really uneducated people out there, and it's not their fault they're uneducated. I mean, they're just listening to media saying NFTs are still destroying the environment, which is not exactly the case. If the big
research.
Yeah, like if you look into anything, first of all, most chains are pretty neutral, like because either they donate or they truly don't use more than you, like taking a hot shower, right?
Exactly.
So it's very overblown. And then the biggest offender is obviously Bitcoin mining. Nobody uses Bitcoin in the NFT space, right? So things are very not accurate, I guess I would say. And then, of course, the part where they don't realize all the ways that it's the technology that's important, not the fact people are making cartoon PFPs out of it. That's just a fad. That's like a Beanie Babies, a Pokemon. Well, I guess Pokemon is still around, but
shout out Pokemon.
Bad example for Pokemon, but that's it goes through cycles, and things are going to come back up and down. Even if games take over, mainstream takes over, I'm sure these PFPs will pop back up like a couple of years later, and they'll be hyped again for another 2 years. It's just the natural order of things. So yeah, I really do think that as soon as you see the mainstream get involved, like Ticketmaster, instead of using digital tickets, they're going to use NFT tickets because it's going to stop the fraud aspect of it.
Come on, man. I was going to use Ticketmaster in my reply.
Stole it from you. But also subscription services, right? It's a great way. People hate shady practices in many industries with rebills. I forgot to cancel, or I did this, or many ways you get screwed. No, you pay up front one time. As long as you're holding it, you're subscribed. You get all the benefits. And now if you want to sell that to someone else, it's easy, right, to do. So those are like just simple examples of common things that I think will quickly shift to it. A lot of people talk video games as the obvious one. That depends, because those companies, the big companies, they move really slow. Ubisoft, they bend to pressure, right? Ubisoft had an announcement, totally backtracked on it because people didn't like it. No, you need someone who's going to say like, no, this is going to do it, and we're a leader, and we're going to make it so. As opposed, like if they did it, everyone who complained about it would still be buying their games, would still be playing it. Like they're not literally going to stop playing video games because all the companies decide to do, shift into that space. So yeah, I think it's only a matter of time, like most things, and it will be just the norm, and nobody will call it NFTs.
Will it be sad though when it's not the gold rush? Like, are we gonna look back and be like, man, I kind of wish I'd appreciated the gold rush more, even though it's so much bullshit?
I mean, we missed the gold rush because some of it was, deciding not to engage in certain things and actually try to build like unique, cool things.
Yeah.
Because once we had the smart contracts and the team and the art down, like we probably in the peak could have pumped out like 30 projects and maybe made millions and millions of dollars, but that's not the option we took. I guess we'll see in the future what came out better, but
we will.
At least we're proud of every single thing we've built. I would not be proud if I released something where I hated the art and it was purely a cash grab. So
yeah. And for you, Adam?
Yeah, so just to echo that, I think mainstream is obviously the key factor here. And I think once different sectors understand the technology of smart contracts and how it can make things so much better, banking is such an easy one to use as a reference, right?
Yeah.
If I want to go send out a wire transfer, let's say I want to wire transfer Keith money, it's silly, and I don't know if it's all Canadian banks, but I think it is. But I can't even do that online. I have to go to a bank. I have to fill out all these forms.
Yeah.
Can't do a wire transfer online. I can't do it whatsoever.
I think I can do it. That's weird. Wow.
So and it's such a ridiculous time-consuming process. Whereas with smart contracts, I can send them as much money as I want within 2 seconds, and bingo bango, it's done. Supply chain, there's so much uses for it. Even going to concerts or events, if I want to buy a ticket to a concert, they'll usually have like a second package where I have to purchase to be part of the fan club, and I get various perks. Why not build that into an NFT? That you can easily see that I'm a fan of this artist. I buy the ticket. You can add so much utility to that one ticket. It doesn't have to be just my point of entry. It can show the artist. I can connect with the artist because they'll have my address information. They can drop me cool stuff every so often and show their appreciation for my support, and also use that information for exclusive giveaways and stuff. Like, there's just so much out there that mainstream sectors can do that they're missing out on, all because of the unfortunate negative stigma that NFTs has, as Keith pointed out, with Ubisoft as an example, and so many other companies. There's a funny story with a certain musician's manager. Keith, I know you love this story, so I'll let you tell it. But man, it just blew my mind, the kind of reaction we got. But go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, so we had signed a deal with the Insane Clown Posse, and for any juggalos out there, hello. But on their simple retweet of like the collaboration, the partnership that we were going to provide them tech, on Twitter, all they got were fans saying, oh no, ICP has turned to the dark side, or oh no, like, don't you know anything about the environment? We all have to live in it. Or literally, there were about 20 people who said, well, I guess this is the day I kill myself. And we're like, wow. We're like, first of all, if you're a hardcore member of a group like that, and this is something that would make you, like, a lot of people were like, oh, I'm never going to buy anything again. I've been a 20-year fan, etc. I cannot imagine that type of decision making me leave 20 years of fandom of something.
Right.
Like if I was a fan, or am a fan of the Anaheim Ducks, a wonderful hockey team, not very good, but they're wonderful people. But if they released a team NFT, right? And I didn't like NFTs or didn't know what they were, I might not buy one, or I certainly wouldn't buy it, but I'm not going to say, well, now I have to pick a new team.
Right.
It's kind of weird, but yeah, that actually caused, their manager and one of the two actual members of the band who were like, oh no, we're going to lose all our fans. Like, we have to cancel this deal.
That's unreal, dude. That is unreal.
There was also that reply from Dave Grohl's manager where he accidentally emailed you instead of Dave Grohl, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I love when internal people, their emails publicly.
That's funny.
But Dave Grohl, who everyone thinks is a very progressive musician, I've heard a lot of cool stories about people who've met him and partied with him and hung out with him. It turned out his literal words were, I can't remember exactly, but to paraphrase, it was something like, hell no fucking way, nothing to do with NFTs. Politely get rid of them.
Wow.
It got sent to us. It was hilarious.
But it was funny as fuck. What's his name? The guy from The Matrix. Like, what's his name? The actor who played. I'm literally forgetting his name now. Main guy from The Matrix. They asked him about NFTs. Yeah, Keanu Reeves. They asked him what he thought about NFTs, and he was like, NFTs. He's like, that's the dumbest shit ever. And I was like, what? I was like, no way. You just did 3 movies about literally like this shit, and then you just like completely cast out NFTs, not a thought to like research or anything.
I have Matrix NFTs too, which is hilarious.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Do an NFT.
They were asking about the Matrix NFTs, and he was like, I don't like. I was like, bro, you're really missing opportunity here.
Yeah, people said that about any technology, right? Like, how many people do you imagine said that about the World Wide Web at the time, or about the telephone, cell phone, like a million things. Yeah. And it just takes a few years, and the rest of the people will follow. And some people, they see it, they instantly get it, they jump in. Other people, it's just not their realm, and they don't get it. But once they see everyone else doing it, they'll just follow along. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember that there was a late night show, or I don't know if it was a late night show. It was Bill Gates was on, and it was one of those guys, and he was like, "Yeah, they're gonna broadcast baseball games on this thing called the radio." Or no, he was like on it was something, and he was basically like, "Why would you do that when we have like radio or something like that?" And it was like a joke because they're all laughing at him, and he's sitting there just like, "Oh God, you don't understand." He's like, "We can't not innovate. That's what we do." He's like, "We humans we build shit and then we destroy shit and we build and innovate. It's like it's what we do."
I think the best example, or at least my favorite, is Vince McMahon in pro wrestling. A lot of people don't know, but other than adult films in motels, he was the first person to do anything on pay-per-view ever, and took a risk by investing every cent he had from his, what his father had left him, into making that pay-per-view happen. And obviously that changed the industry for sports for like many, many, many years. Where they're still doing now. Adam's a big UFC fan. And they're still pay-per-views, right? Like, you still have to pay for them, I imagine. Yeah. So, those are things that changed the industry that everyone laughed at, everyone mocked. And you just put yourself out of business, like that will never work.
Dude. Hey, well, listen, this was a super, super fun podcast. I think everyone seemed to enjoy themselves in the comment section, especially. It was hyped up as fuck. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time. We ended literally like perfect timing, hour and 20 minutes. We just lined that up perfectly. You guys had so much alpha. It was great.
No, it was our pleasure. It was really fun. And thank you again for inviting us on, and glad to do it again down the road.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, listen, guys, if you made it to the end of this video or the end of this podcast, thank you so much for being in here, especially if you're live. We really appreciate you guys being here. This is super fun. You guys were a huge part of this also. It was super fun to be able to pull up the comments as we're going. So if you did make it to the end, the code word, which is just to show that you were here, is kind of like your, what's it called? POAP, like proof of attendance or whatever. Nice. Code word is going to be, what should we do? Should we do brews? Something to do with brews, maybe?
Brews, I guess.
Brews? All right, someone type it in. We're going to have the code word. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, until next time, continue on your Joyage. Keith. Oh, also follow them on Twitter. Keith, I couldn't find your Twitter, so just when you guys send me Twitter, I'll add that to the
Twitter. So I use the Master Brews account mostly.
Oh, okay, right on. All right, well, I'll have all the links for the Ragnarok and Adam in the description below. Thank you so much for being here again. Continue your Joyage, continue to learn. We're grateful you're live watching this video. Bye.
Thank you, Kate.